This PowerPoint is on vision, which is part of Chapter 5. The visual system constructs a mental representation of the world around us, and this contributes to our ability to successfully navigate through physical space and interact with important individuals and objects in their environments. So let's take a look at the visual system. There's a diagram here of different parts of the visual system. We won't go through all of those, but we'll go through most of those and see what they do. The first part is the cornea, which is the transparent covering over the eye. It serves as a barrier between the inner eye and the outside world, and it is involved in focusing light waves that enter the eye. The pupil is the small opening in the eye through which light passes, and the size of the pupil can change as a function of light levels as well as emotional arousal. The iris, of course, is the colored part of the eye, and the lens, light enters the lens after crossing the pupil. It is a curved, transparent structure that serves to provide additional focus. The retina is a key bridge between the light that enters your eyes and what you actually see. Special cells in your retina react to light and pass signals to your brain that let you see the world around you. So what we just talked about is essentially the process by which light enters your eye and then gets to your brain. Cones and rods are located in the retina. Cones work best in bright light conditions, and they're very sensitive to acute detail and provide tremendous spatial resolution. They also are directly involved in our ability to perceive color. Rods, on the other hand, work well in low light conditions, and while they lack the spatial resolution and color function of the cones, they are involved in our vision in dimly lit environments, as well as in our perception of movement on the periphery of our visual field. So rods really help us have peripheral vision. The optic nerve carries information from the retina to the brain. So again, we're essentially discussing the process by which light enters your eye and then gets to the brain. The optic chiasm is the place in the brain where some of the optic nerve fibers coming from one eye cross optic nerve fibers from the other eye, which you can, if you go back to the diagram, you can see that the light entering one eye crosses to the other. The LGN, or lateral geniculate nucleus, transfers visual information from the retina to the primary visual cortex. The primary visual cortex is the primary cortical region of the brain that receives, integrates, and processes visual information relayed from the retinas. So essentially, we've gone from where light enters the eye to how it reaches the brain. So let's take a look at color and depth vision. Okay, remember when we talked about cones being very important to the perception of color? We talked about that just a few slides ago. Well, there are three cones that perceive color. The trichromatic theory indicates that each cone perceives green, red, or blue, and every other color is a combination of those three colors. On the other hand, the opponent process theory suggests that the ability to perceive color is controlled by three receptor complexes with opposing actions. These three receptor complexes are the red-green complex, the blue-yellow complex, and the black-white complex. And this theory says that the mind can only register the presence of one color of a pair at a time because the two colors oppose one another. The same kind of cell that activates when you see red will deactivate in green light, and the cells that activate in green light will deactivate when you see red. Overall, it appears that the theories aren't really opposing, but complement each other. The trichromatic theory explains how color vision happens at the receptors, that we only see those three colors and then they combine to make every other color, while the opponent process theory interprets how color vision occurs at a neural level in the brain. So beyond color, let's look at how do we perceive depth perception. Our ability to perceive spatial relationships in three-dimensional space is known as depth perception. With depth perception, we can describe things as being in front, behind, above, below, or to the side of other things. So it's essentially how we see location, how we, as it says, can tell that something's in front of something else or below something else. That is depth perception. So how do we establish our sense of depth? We use binocular cues. In other words, we rely on the use of both eyes. Binocular disparity is the slightly different view of the world that each of our eyes receive. This occurs because our eyes have two different vantage points. As you can see from the diagram on the left, your right eye sees something different than your left eye sees. So the combination of those, seeing those two different things, helps us establish depth. Binocular disparity. These cues only require one eye to determine depth, but they can't determine 3D. They can only determine 2D. One of these binocular cues is the linear perspective, which allows us to see depth when two parallel lines converge, as you can see from the diagram. And the train tracks and then the little diagram to the right of it, we're able to see through binocular disparity only one eye that these two lines converge. That's the end of the vision PowerPoint. If you have any questions about any of the parts of the visual system or color or depth, please let me know. Thank you.